This video will demonstrate the Chapter 5 Level 2 homework assignment. So from the weekly information, I'm going to pull down this file, the data file that I need to do this assignment, and open that up. Alright, what this case is about is, I encourage you to read the case, as a matter of fact, on page 358 before you attempt it, so you know what you're doing. But basically, we are a travel company, and we get discounts for corporate customers, and our job is to complete this corporate request form so that we know what all the discounts and the fees are in the departure city and the arrival city. And we've got different tables that the case gave us. Here's the flight table. It gives a listing of all the flights with their flight number, departure city, arrival city, and the base fare. We have a fee table, and a discount table. Alright, so on step 2 of the case, it tells us on cell E3 to calculate a formula that retrieves the name of the departure city for the flight. So if we come over here to the flight tab, we can see that we've got flight numbers, the departure city, the arrival city, and the base fare. So we're going to be using this table as we build that formula they're asking for in step 2. So the best way to do that, I can see that I have a flight number here, and I could come over here and look for the flight number, 1049, and I can find it there. But you can imagine that this could be a pretty big table. And so we could have a lot of requests that we have to look at. So if we can get it to do it for us automatically, it will save us a lot of time in the long run. Alright, I'm going to use VLOOKUP, vertical lookup. So I'm going to do equals VLOOKUP, and there it is. There's the function. When I start typing it, it appears. And it gives us our hints. So the lookup value in this case is the flight number. And then of course I have to, after I do that piece of the formula, I need to put a comma. And now I need to define the table array. So I'm going to go to flights and define the table array, and it's going to be this entire table. So there's my table array. I don't want to hit enter, you can just hit tab. Oops, didn't like it when I did that. So there it is, it put me back. So here's my table array, flights. It's the flights tab from A2 to D82, and I need to make that an absolute value. So I'm going to highlight that and click F4 to put the dollar signs in the formula so it anchors those cells and doesn't move when I copy it. Alright, so I define my table array, then I need to put a comma, and now I need the index number. So where in that table am I going to find the departure city? And if you remember, if I click on this, you're going to see what happens, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's going to try to think that that's part of the formula, but it's not. So I'm going to come up here into my formula bar, but I needed to click on there because I wasn't exactly sure what column that was in. But the departure city is in column 2, and so I'm going to put a 2 there, and then I need to, so it's going to find that flight number I'm asking for, and then it's going to return the value of the departure cities because it's in the second column. The departure city is in the second column. Put a comma. I hit my enter key. Alright, now I need to put a comma after that, and then I need to tell it if I want it to be an exact match or an approximate match. And in this case, I want it to match exactly the flight number exactly. So I'm going to choose that and close my parentheses and hit enter. So by using the VLOOKUP, I can tell it to look at this flight number, use a different place that has the information in it. If I look at flights, it returned the value of London. It was flight number 1049, and here's London right there, 1049. Alright, don't forget to put your dollar signs to anchor that. And then it says to copy the formula down. So I'm just going to double click and it copies that formula down. Alright, now we need to do the same thing in step 3. We need to do the same thing for the arrival city. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this formula. It's going to be pretty close, but I'll have to make some changes to it. And you can see that I got an error message, but that's okay. All I need to do with this, I still want to refer to flight 1049, but instead of column 3, I need to I need to use column 3 in the flights because I want the arrival city now. So if we come up to the top of this, I used here's column 1, here's column 2, and here's column 3. So that's all I have to change in the formula. Alright, so I'm going to change that to a 3 and hit enter. Oops, something is still wrong. Let's see what it's doing. Okay, I just still need to correct something in here. I need to change, see how this is moving to D3? I need that to stay anchored at C3 for this case. So I'm going to go ahead and change that reference to C3. And now I'm going to hit enter and I should get the right result. And I once again need to change that to a 3 so it reads on the 3rd column and hit enter. Alright, so my arrival city is Boston. So I have VLOOKUP, C3, then I'm referring to the table that's in the flights. And the flights, in this case, I need the arrival city, so I have column 1, column 2, and column 3. So I changed my formula to have the column 3 there. And then I want it to return an exact match, so I use the word false. Or you can use a 1 or a 0 in those cases as well. Alright, so I can copy that all down, and then I get all the information that I have there. Alright, step 4 of the case asks us to write a formula that will retrieve the base fare for each of the flights. So, here I am, G3, and I need to use the base fare. So where is that base fare sitting? It's still sitting in this table. So far I've used column 2, column 3, and now I have column 4 that I'm going to use to return that information. So I'm going to once again copy that formula across. Well, you know what? Actually, I'll use the formula builder this time. I'm going to hit this function, and I want to use VLOOKUP, and I need the lookup value, which is this, cell C3, and then I need to define the table array. So I'm going to come down here and define the table array, and it's going to be in this flights, and since I'm using the formula builder, I'm going to define that again. Okay. Then I need the column index number. So the column index number is just a 3. I clicked one too many times on there, so just watch what you're doing. So the column index number is a 3, and the range lookup right down here, it gives us what we want to do there. It says range lookup is a logical value to find the closest match in the first column, sorted in searching order, in ascending order. So true is omitted, or find an exact match, which is false. And so we actually want to put false there. And we also, in order to copy this down, this A2 to D82 needs to be an absolute value. So I'm going to highlight that, turn it into an F4, and now that formula should be okay. And I'm going to click OK. Alright, so we get the base fare is from London to Boston. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have used 3, I needed to use a 4 here, because we were in column 4. So I can correct that just right up here in the formula, hit enter, and now I get the base fare. Let's go check that. For flight 1049, I get 1555. Alright, so there's your formula. Alright, I'm going to just copy that down. Alright, in step 5, it says in cell H3, we need to write a formula that determines the day of the week 1 through 7 of this flight using the weekday data function. And it explains in that step that the weekday function returns 1 for Sunday, 2 for Monday, and so on. So the way that this works is all you have to do is put in this, there's a function called weekday. So we're going to type equals weekday, and there it is. And I need the weekday of this date. So it's a date function. It's already built in. So here's the weekday. I'm going to hit this and close my parentheses and hit enter. And so that tells me that on that date it's week 5. So day 5 of the week is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So the 5 refers to Thursday, the 5th day of the week, with Sunday being number 1. I can copy that down as well. And it's a relative cell reference, so I didn't have to put anything into that. I actually want it to move from row 3, row 4, row 5, and row 6. All right, so that was step 5. Now step 6 asks us to return airline tickets are signed to fare category, and so in cell I3 we need to write a formula that determines the fare category for the tickets. If we come over here and we look at the fees tab, we can see that there is a fare category based on the ticket price, and then we have an associated airport fee with that as well. So what step 6 is asking us to do is just to define what the fee category is. So let's look at that. We're wanting to figure out what the fee category is based on the ticket price. So let's write a formula for that, and this time we're going to just do, instead of a VLOOKUP, we're going to just do a lookup function. So you'll see the difference between lookup and between VLOOKUP. So this time we're going to use equal lookup, and there it is. I can just start typing it, it comes up as we know, and then I have to define the lookup value, the lookup vector, and then what the result is. And they're all separated by the commas. So the lookup value in this case is this one. We want to look up the fee category for this, and I'm going to put a comma in there. The next thing it tells me to do is to do the lookup vector. So that's under our fees tab, and my lookup vector is going to be from B2 to B9. B2 to B9, and then I'll hit a comma, and then I need to tell the program what result vector do I look at. So over here it's going to be one of these fee categories. I just close my parentheses and hit enter. And so the fee category for a ticket that has a price of $15.55, let's go look at that. $15.55 is a fee category of 3. Right, I can just copy that down. Right, a pretty good hint that I did something wrong because I got an error in one of those. So let's go back and look at that formula. When I'm referring to the B2 to the B9 and then the fees in that column, I don't want that to move when I copy it down. Now remember, if I don't anchor it, it's going to move. So I need to make these absolute values here. So I'm going to take my B2 and B9 and hit F4. And when I copy that down, I'm going to do the same thing to A2 and A9. I don't want it to move when it's looking at that. And I'll hit enter and I'll copy that down again. And this time I get the right information. So by now you should be figuring out when you have to anchor things and when you don't. But when you forget to do it, like I do quite often, you usually can figure out that you have an error, and then you have to go back and fix it. So that was a good example of using the lookup as opposed to the VLOOKUP. And the formula help really helps you on how to build that. Alright, on step 7, they want us to write a formula that determines the discount category for the ticket. So we have the discount table here. And what is in the discount table? We can see that we have the weekday, and then we have the fare category, and it puts some sort of a reference in there for the fare category. So in this case, we have to look at a couple of things. So we're going to use a formula that's called the index formula. So I'm going to use the function this time because that's a new formula that we haven't seen before. And I'm going to type in index up here in the search. And I had to hit go to find it because it's one I haven't used before. So that's how you can search for a function if you know what it's called. So here's the index. And it says this function has multiple argument list. Please select one of them. And we want to use, so you have two choices. You have this one where you can use an array, a row, a number, a column, or you can use a reference row, number, column, or number area. So we're going to just use this we're going to use this first one. So I'm going to click that, and I have to define the array. So I'm going to have equal index. You can see up here it's starting to build the formula. I have my open and close parentheses, and the array in this case is going to be the discounts. And this is my array. This is my table, so I have to define it. I want it to look from cell B. This is just the weekday. This is just the fair category. 1, 2, and 3 are the fair categories, and we saw that over here in the fees. And then, but my information that I want to return is in this area here. So my array is going to be B2 all the way down to D10. So there I defined my array. And then I have to tell it what row number do I want. And in this case, I want H, I want this one. I want it to look at this weekday for this row. So I'm going to reference H3, and then I have to define what the column number is. And you'll notice the help. It says selects the column in array or reference from which to return a value. And in this case, the fair category is 3, so I'm going to choose I3, and I'm finished with that formula. So it's going to, the equals index, the discounts, I'm using the discounts table from B4 to D10, and I need to make sure, remember I did that before, I'm going to go ahead and anchor that so that when I copy it down, it will stay anchored. And then I want it to look at cell H3 for weekday 5. And I also need for it to index based on this fair category number, which is 3. So it's going to, and in those two, if you remember when we built those, in those two cells there was formulas in there already. All right, so this looks good. Here's my formula up here, and I'm going to click OK. And it gives me a discount. It says a discount of AA. Gives me a discount category. And if I come over here and I look at the discounts, here's the discount category is AA. So we can see that here. Go back to request, and it returned a discount value of AA. What does that mean? We still need to calculate what the discounted fare is, so we're going to have to do something to make that all make sense. But I'm going to copy that formula down, and so now I have the discount category for each of these. In step 8, it tells us in a separate sheet of the discount worksheet, so here's the discount worksheet, create a horizontal lookup table based on the following discount information. So there I am on page 359, step 8, and I need to create another little table in here that this can refer to. So it's giving me some categories. AA is going to be a 0 discount, then we have 25, 50, and 65%. Alright, so let's build that table. So I'm going to just put it right here on cell G2, and I'm going to type, and I'm going to call this discount category. And underneath that, I'm going to call this percent discount. Now I need to put some parameters in this. So I'm going to just size that column there. And the discount category, we've got an AA, AA, and we have an X, a Y, and a Z. So sure enough, I see I have AA, X, Y, and Z. Seem to be the categories that I've got there. And the discounts, it's telling me in the problem that I've got AA is a 0% discount. So I'm going to put a 0%. And I'm going to turn all of this into percentages too. So I'm going to put a 0 there. Let me format these cells. So I'm going to click on this cell all the way to this cell, and I'm going to tell it to format as a percent. Alright, on category X it says we should have a 25%. And notice because I made it automatically be a percent, I formatted those cells. Then on category Y I need 50%. And on category Z I have a 65% discount. Alright, so there's a table that I can use to calculate this information. Now I can format this table however I want. We'll make it look pretty. I'm going to do a quick format on this. And for my home, I'm going to get all of this. For my home tab, I'm going to choose this in the font group. I'm going to tell it to give me all borders. Okay, so you can do that however you like. I think in the example we also put some color into this. We'll put some purple color. It's not quite the same purple as that one, but that's okay. Alright, so now I have a table that I can refer to in my requests. Alright, so I know the discount category. Now I need to calculate what the discounted fare is. And that is, and this is step 9 of the assignment. So it says in cell K3 we need to create a formula that determines the discounted fare price, the base fare minus the discount of the flight, using the table you created in the discounts worksheet. And fare should be rounded to the nearest dollar. So we're going to use a couple of different formulas in here in order to get it to round. Alright, so I'm going to use equals round. If I want a formula to round, I can use my round function, and it will always just go at the beginning of a formula. So equals round, I'm going to open up my parentheses, and I'm wanting to get the discounted fare. So I need the fare price. In this case, our fare price is sitting in column G. So I'm going to use that, G3. And then I need to have to think about this a little bit. So I'm wanting to round the number. I know that. So I want to round what my answer is going to be, G3. But I also need to find out what that discount is. So I'm going to use G3 times the H lookup for that table that we just created in the discount table. So I'm going to take G3, and I know that I have to minus something away from that. So I'm going to hit minus this. I'm doing a calculation inside of it, so it's equals round G3 minus G3 minus G3 again, and I'm going to multiply G3 times something so it can take it away from the original value that's sitting in G3, in this case the 1555. So I can take G3 and multiply that times the H lookup. So I'm going to use H lookup this time. So a formula within a formula. You do that a lot with Excel. So here's my H lookup. I want to go ahead and accept that. And so I have my lookup value. And it's going to be this one. This J3 is the lookup value. I want to look up the discount based on that discount rate. So I'm going to look that up. And then it tells me that's my lookup value. And what table do I need to do that? Well, it's in the discounts table. So I need to put a comma. And now it's going to tell me I need to look at the table array, define the table array. It's this discounts. And we created that table based on AA. It's looking at, we had defined this as the fare category. And then we created a table and said what those discounts were. So it's this discounts table. You can see it's building my formula, the discounts table of H, and I'm going to do H2 all the way to K3. Oops, I'm sorry. I've got an extra column in there. So I don't want to do H2. I want to do I2 all the way to L10. Okay, I'm going to define that again. I'm going to start that again. I need that table array. So I'm in the discounts table, and I need to grab from here all the way to here. Okay, so I need the discount array, the table array that shows the discount. And it's not I3 to L3. I actually need, in my case, GHI, I need this defined here. So I need I2 all the way down to L3. So there's my discount, and I need to anchor that because we're going to copy it down. So I'm going to go ahead and do an F4. If I remember to do it while I'm creating the formula, then I don't have to go back and correct it. So then I put a comma. So we'll put a comma in the formula. And so now I have the row index number. So the row index number in this case is 2. That's the second row is going to return that value. So I'm going to tell it that I need that index number to be the second row, comma, and then I have to tell it if I want it to be an approximate match or an exact match. And in this case, I want it to be an exact match. So we'll go ahead and choose false. And then I can close my parentheses, and I'm not done because I still had this equals round at the beginning of the formula. So I have to tell it how many decimal places do I want it to round to. So I put a comma in there, and I'm going to tell it that I want it to round to with no decimal places. So I put a 0 and close my parentheses. And let's look at that formula again. So usually when I use the round function, I like to build my formula first, which I didn't show you that. I like to build my formula first and then deal with the rounding piece of it, because it gets less confusing that way. But anyway, I just did equals round, and so this comma here is related to this part of the formula. It's related to the round formula. And the 0 indicates I don't want to round to any decimal places. Alright, so what it's doing, it's taking G3, and then I'm doing a function within that. So G3 times the HLOOKUP of J3, and the discount table is defined from here to here. And I'm telling it that I want it to look at the second row, and I want it to return an exact match. So now I'm going to hit enter, and it returns this value. So what did it do? Let's look at it one more time. I told it to round this piece, 0 on the end, and this round is part of that. So I want to look at the base fare, G3, and take away from that base fare whatever discount I'm getting. And so I'm looking up what that discount is. So based on, I do this HLOOKUP because I made that discount table over here. Here's my discount table. It's a horizontal lookup. I have my base fare, and then depending on what's sitting in the fare category, in this case it's at fare category 3, then it's going to take that discount that's attributed to this. So I don't get any discount because we can see that the AA discount is a 0% discount. Alright, let's copy that down. And we can see with the different ones that we do get this discount. So if I go and look at the Y on the discount table, I can see that I can get a 50% discount on the fare. Alright. Okay, so that's quite a formula. I want to make sure you can see that. So I just put it in here as a text over here so you can see it. So there you have. Like I said, I usually like to put that round piece into it. It's this part right here with the 0 on the end. Now I could have put a 2 there and I would have 2 decimal places. I could put a 1 and I would have had 1 decimal place. You kind of get the idea. And then close it off with the parentheses. So there's the formula. So we're saying to look at cell G3. Let's go back and look at that. It's kind of hard. Cell G3, which is the base fare, minus what the base fare is times the lookup for the discount. So this is the HLOOKUP of that discount. And we define the array of the discount, and we tell it that we want it to pull the discount that's sitting in the second row, and we want it to be an exact match, so we put a false. Alright. Alright, we're going on to step 10 of the case, and it says in cell L3, we need to calculate the airport fee based on the fee schedule in the fees worksheet. And it says to note that the airport fee is based on the discounted fare. And then of course to copy the formulas down. So we're going to use VLOOKUP again in this time. So we're going to use equals VLOOKUP, and we'll just go ahead and select it because it works nice that way. Gives us our hints. We need the lookup value. And in this case, what is it telling us to do? To calculate the airport fee. So we're going to look at the airport fee based on the discounted fare. So we're going to get some sort of a fee that's based on this discounted fare. So my lookup value is going to be K3. Put a comma, and then we need to define the table array. And in this case, we've got a table array right here, a table that's called fees. And we need to determine what the fee is going to be based on the price of the ticket. So here's your fare category, and here's your ticket price and your airport fee based on that ticket price. So the fee category 1 is if the price of the ticket is 0, you still are going to have an airport fee. Well, that won't ever happen, I'm sure, but we'll go ahead, and it's in the table, we'll go ahead and include it. So there's my array, and then I hit comma to go to the next one. And then it tells me I need the column index number. Okay, so I'm doing a VLOOKUP, and I want it to look at the ticket price. So we don't have 1,500, so the most it can be is $125. But what I want it to look at when it's looking, I want it to look at the second column, so I'm going to put a 2 there. And I don't want it to, then I'm going to put my comma, and then I can choose if I want an approximate match or an exact match. So here I can see that I don't have 1,500, so I'm going to choose an approximate match. When I choose an approximate match, it's not going to look for the exact amount of 1,500, but it's going to find the one that's above it or below it. So in this case, it will return 125. So I want an approximate match, so I'm going to choose that. And then I'm going to close my parentheses and hit enter. Now I needed to lock in my table, which I forgot to do, turn my table into an absolute value, so it's the fees table, and those cell values in there, I'm going to just highlight them and type F4 so it locks in that table. Alright, so my fee was $1,500 and it returned a $125 fee. So what it did, it's looking for the $1,500 and it's returning the amount to the right of it. That's how your VLOOKUP works. Alright, let's copy that down, and there we have it. Let's look at this one, 578. If I come over here and I look at 578, it's 500, it's greater than 40, so it's got to be it's going to go to the next one up, $50 there. No, it didn't, it used the $40. Okay. Alright, so not quite sure about that, because I think I would have assumed that it would have gone to the 50, but it went to the 40. Alright, but we won't worry about it. So the America on column M, so we finished step 10. In step 11 it says in cell M3 it wants us to calculate the total ticket price that America Travel can obtain. So it's the discounted fare plus the airport fees, and then copy it all the way down. Okay, I just realized why I went back and looked at that. Why the airport fee on that one where I thought it would be 40. The reason that it's 40 is because we didn't reach 700. So since we didn't reach 700, it's going to refer to the one below it. So that's why. It took me just a second to figure that out. Alright, step 11, in cell M3, we just need to calculate, this is easy, the total ticket price. So the total ticket price is just the discounted fare plus the airport fee. So I'm going to just hit equals this plus this and hit enter. Now I could have done a sum of those two as well. So a different way to do that, I could have done my auto sum of this and this and hit enter. Different ways to do it. I'm going to copy that down. Whenever I have a sum, I think I would prefer to do it that way, actually, using my auto sum. It's just a little bit faster, especially when they're just right next to each other like that. All right, finally on step 12, it wants us to do a comparison. It says, is the corporate rate, we're supposed to compare if the corporate rate is less than the actual ticket price. And it says, return a true value if the America travel price is less than the corporate fare that Texto was offered. And then we're going to copy it down. So the way we can do that, it works really well if we want to compare one to the other. So I'm going to take equals this if it's less than the corporate fare. So here's the corporate fare, and I want to know if the amount that I'm giving them is going to be less than the corporate fare. So this is cell M3 less than cell D3. And if that statement is true, it's going to return a value of true. If the statement is false, it's going to return a statement of false. So I'm going to hit enter, and I get true because 1680 is less than 1875. And I can just copy that down. Here I get a value of false. Is the price of $364 less than the corporate fare of $175? If I look at that cell, the formula is, I'm saying if equals M5 is less than D5, and that's not a true statement, so it returns a value of false. So finally, the last thing you need to do before you turn it in is always make sure that it looks right when you print it. So in this case, I'm just going to do, I can see right here that this is cutting off somebody's name, so I'm going to double click up here to format that column a little bit bigger. Everything else that's in the columns seems to be working pretty well. And remember, I put this big old formula over here for you. I don't want that to print, so I'm going to define my print area. So here's my print area. And I go to page layout, print area, set print area. Now I'm going to look at this and see how it looks. It would probably look better if I had it in a landscape orientation. So it does that. It's still going on to 2 pages. Let's see how much it's hanging off, just a little bit. So I'm going to do my page setup here and change my margins. Change them just a little bit. Go back to page, click OK, and I think I will actually do some scaling and tell it to fit all columns on one page, which is going to make it a little smaller. So it did. Click on my home page, and I'm going to make those rows a little bit wider. By making the rows a little bit wider, it will make everything look bigger when I print it. Okay, now let's go look at that. So it takes up some more information on the page, and that looks pretty good. So then I can just do a save as, and you need to save it as Texto Travel Quotes and submit it.